first senior member of the British monarchy in modern history to be arrested. He is now out on bail. The former prince is accused of using his previous position as trade envoy to share sensitive government information with Jeffrey Epstein, the wealthy financier who died in a New York jail cell in 2019 as a known child sex offender and an accused human trafficker. Another prominent Epstein associate, President Trump, reacted to today's news out of Britain.
It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing.
A congressional committee is looking at investigations into Epstein and associates, including the reams of materials recently released by the Justice Department. New NPR reporting on DOJ files paints a fuller picture of how convicted sex offenders Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell used an arts camp to prey on young girls in the 1990s. NPR's Ava Berger has more.
According to files released by the DOJ, Epstein donated more than $400,000 to Interlochen Center for the Arts. That included an on-campus lodge. He and Maxwell used it during brief stays for several summers between 1994 and 2000. They reportedly walked their small dog around campus, using it as an icebreaker to meet two young teenage girls. One of them, now an adult, spoke to NPR on the condition of anonymity. She said she experienced, quote, grooming behavior while unsupervised at Epstein's lodge. Former administrator Russ McMahon described the campus as open and welcoming at the time.
In hindsight, mistakes may have been made.
Today, the campus has significantly increased security. Ava Berger, NPR News, Washington.
President Trump hosted the first meeting of his Board of Peace, which was formed to help rebuild Gaza. NPR's Franco Ordonez reports Trump announced the U.S. will contribute $10 billion to the board.
The White House says more than 40 nations sent representatives, including heads of state from Argentina, Hungary, and others, to attend the meeting at the U.S. Institute of Peace. The president said those involved have promised $7 billion to the effort.
This is something very special, and we're going to straighten out Gaza. We're going to make Gaza very successful and safe. And we're also going to maybe take it a step further where we see hot spots around the world. We can probably do that very easily.
But several key U.S. allies did not join the talks, including the U.K., France, and Sweden, who declined to join the board over concerns about the charter, including concerns it would rival the United Nations. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
It's NPR.
At 3:04, this is KERA News. I'm Toluwani Osibamalo. A federal judge will now single-handedly conduct the second round of jury selection in the Prairieland ICE Detention Center shooting trial. KERA's Dylan Duke reports it comes after the judge declared a mistrial earlier this week.
In an order Wednesday, Judge Mark Pittman told attorneys to submit questions they have for the jury pool, and he'll consider asking them. George Wabb represents one of the defendants in state court. He says that's perfectly legal, but it could change the jury pool's answers.
The key difference here with the judge asking the questions, the jurors are going to be more deferential and more likely to give answers to please the judge versus the answers they would give to an attorney.
Pittman declared a mistrial because he felt the defense attorney's civil rights shirt was sending a political message to prospective jurors. For KERA News, I'm Dylan Duke in Dallas.
Dallas city officials will be in New York next week trying to lure finance businesses to Texas. Officials have called the rapidly growing finance sector in Dallas Y'all Street. And for it to keep growing, they need to compete with other large cities. Here's City Manager Kimberly Tolbert.
Our team will be in New York on the ground, promoting Y'all Street and pitching Dallas as America's premier destination.
The delegation is expected to be in New York City for 2 days next week. And Allen police have arrested a figure skating coach on 2 counts of indecency with minors. Benjamin Schroetz is a longtime Collin County coach and former coach of Olympic skater Amber Glenn. Investigators say a report alleged Schroetz engaged in inappropriate relationships with 2 athletes, one of which was reportedly a minor. A judge has ordered him not to coach or teach any figure skating students while the case moves forward. This is KERA News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the estate of Joan B. Kroc, whose bequest serves as an enduring investment in the future of public radio and seeks to help NPR produce programming that meets the highest standards of public service in journalism and cultural expression.
explore the world around you. From delightful stories to thought-provoking conversations, listen to 90.1 KERA News and on the KERA app.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Scott Tetro, disgraced, stripped of royal titles, and now released from jail after a few hours of detention that shocked Britain. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, brother of King Charles, was arrested today in an investigation that stems from the latest release of the Epstein files. This is the first arrest of a senior British royal in nearly 400 years. NPR's Lauren Frayer reports from London.
The day began with a cluster of unmarked cars pulling up to the royals' Sandringham estate in the drizzle. Then a statement from police. A man in his 60s had been arrested nearby. Authorities were searching properties in Norfolk, where Sandringham is located, and in Berkshire, home to Windsor Castle. Then the suspect's identity.
The King's brother taken into police custody.
Today, on former Prince Andrew's 66th birthday, he became the first senior royal arrested since the English Civil War in the 1600s. It was the Epstein files that brought him down. Andrew admits he was friends with Epstein. He settled a lawsuit with one of the sex offender's underage victims, and has long said he strenuously denies any wrongdoing. But after the release of the latest files by the U.S. Department of Justice, British police began investigating Andrew's correspondence with Epstein dating back to the years 2001 to 2011, when Andrew was a UK trade envoy, and allegedly shared with Epstein things like government itineraries, investment plans, and notes from official foreign trips. That information may have been covered by the United Kingdom's Official Secrets Act. Police say Andrew has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office, which carries a maximum penalty of life in prison.
What's your reactions to your brother's arrest, sir?
The King was heading to a London Fashion Week event when all of this went down. He issued a statement referring to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, no reference to them being brothers. The King said he feels deepest concern and that, quote, the law must take its course. What now follows, the King said, is a full, fair, and proper process. That process could lead to an unprecedented trial, pitting the Crown Prosecution Service against the brother of the Crown itself, a brother who, as of tonight, still remains eighth in line for the throne. Lauren Frayer, NPR News, London.
One of the most outspoken survivors of abuse by Jeffrey Epstein was a woman named Virginia Giuffre. She said she was trafficked to the former Prince Andrew as a teenager, that she was forced to have sex with him multiple times. Andrew, as we heard, has denied all wrongdoing. Giuffre died by suicide last year. Today, her family put out a statement thanking police. They wrote, "At last today, our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty." I'm joined now by Virginia Giuffre's brother, Sky Roberts, along with his wife, Virginia Giuffre's sister-in-law, Amanda Roberts. Welcome to you both.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
So I quoted a piece of the statement that your family put out today. I wonder if there's anything more you would like to say about the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, about what emotions I'm sure it brings up for you both.
Yeah, I would say it's been a whirlwind of emotions. We got the news at 3 a.m. The best news you can get at 3 a.m., right? I think, you know, you're always worried when you get a phone call that early in the morning.
Was it from a reporter or who called?
It was from Virginia's longtime friend and publicist, Jeannie Von Muffling, who has been like an astronomical partner with us in this fight. And she called us. And it was a huge moment. It was a moment of celebratory victory, and I think I like jumped out of the bed when Sky told me. And you know, we know that we're gonna go through this day like with highs and lows. I think it's going to be an intentional moment for us tonight to close the door, sit with ourselves and sit with this moment and just miss her and honor her, because I think without her we wouldn't be here.
Oh yeah, well, I'm the crier in my family, so she already had me in tears a little bit there, but
Yeah, take your time.
you know, there's not really there's never a right answer for it, right? I think I never know what we're gonna feel in those moments. And then we got done with the initial wave. I don't think either of us could go back to bed. We did one of our first interviews at like 5 this morning, and then we went and got breakfast. And when I'm sitting at breakfast, I just started bawling.
This may feel so obvious to you, but good news in what way? This was something you have been waiting for a while?
Good news in a sense that something legally is happening here. And even though it's not connected to the direct allegations and testimony of Virginia, it is relative, and it is the very first thread that we've been able to pull on that is threatening legal action that we can pursue real charges. And yes, the most egregious crime was the child sex trafficking, but there are so many other threads that we can start to pull, and we're hoping that this investigation is the beginning.
So you nodded to this, but I do need to point out and need to underline, Andrew was not arrested for alleged sex crimes. He was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The Epstein files indicate he may have shared confidential information with Jeffrey Epstein back when Andrew was serving as a British trade envoy. I also just need to underline that Andrew had previously settled a lawsuit with your sister. He did not admit to any wrongdoing. Do those facts influence or temper any way your response to what happened today?
I think that it's very important that we don't forget how hard these survivors and the survivor sisters have been pushing, that we wouldn't be here today without Virginia. And I think you kind of underlined it. You said the reason that they're bringing forth this arrest is because of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and it's also because of these files. This is what we've been fighting for. This is the reason that we wanted these released. We knew that because of statute of limitations, and predators and perpetrators can hide behind that veil to some degree. And we got other work on the behind the scenes to try to get rid of that too. But at this stage, I think if they were capable of doing the most heinous crime out there, what else are they capable of doing? I think that's what we're seeing, and we just ask that they do an active investigation. I think the fact that they took the first step is far beyond what we're doing here in the United States.
Since you mentioned the Epstein files, I'm curious whether you two have been able to bring yourselves to look at what has been released by the Justice Department. Like, does it feel helpful to you or not to have more details about what your sister may have experienced?
It's a double-edged sword, right? I think it was important for us to search for her documents. The crazy part is that Virginia actually hasn't been redacted not one time, so we were able to find hundreds and hundreds of pages of her testimony, and you know, it was a violation to what they were supposed to do. You have to remember she still has a family and children that deserve protection. So that was disheartening, but there were so many things in there that again proved like vindication. One of them was a public deposition where she did name names, and we were going to look to see if the Department of Justice went out of their way to redact those names. And in some instances, they did. And so it was just further proof to really understand the intention behind this department. And it clearly was not transparency, and it was not for the survivors.
I have a question about consequences. In the UK, we now have the Epstein scandal rocking the royal family. It of course brought down Britain's ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson. He is now under criminal investigation. In the US, it's been something of a different story. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's co-conspirator, is in prison, but otherwise, consequences here, I think it's fair to say, have not been as severe. What would you call for, I'll put this one to you, Sky, what do you call for in the US?
Well, I think priority number one is that we need to acknowledge the survivors and what they went through. But I think we're far beyond just the acknowledgement piece. We need to see action from our DOJ. I mean, we were in the Pam Bondi hearing sitting just 3 feet behind her. She wouldn't even turn around and acknowledge survivors right behind her. I mean, 3 feet. We were all the way in Washington, D.C. And so I think what we're asking for is that this administration needs to stop protecting the predators and the pedophiles. They are in those files. There's no doubt. You can read through each one. I mean, I'm sure you've read through quite a few. I know I have. That have been incredibly disturbing. And then when you go to those, the name is redacted. So the reality is there's more than enough evidence to bring forth at least the minimal an investigation. And I think that's what we're asking for, is if the UK can bring forward an investigation on Andrew, well then so can we.
Have you been in touch today with other victims or their families?
You know, the messages came pouring in this morning. The overwhelming love and support that we've gotten, you know, personally, but also through social media. I mean, people reaching out to our accounts, Virginia's Voice, and just, you know, celebrating Virginia in this moment has been so overwhelming. And we see you, and we'll keep fighting. We're going to keep fighting. This is a day for you too. You can be an ordinary person and do extraordinary things through your pain. And so I think there's just a lot of emotions, you know. But the survivors are beautiful, and they have become our family. They have become our sisters, and just such a supportive group.
We've been speaking with Amanda Roberts and Sky Roberts, the sister-in-law and brother of the late Virginia Giuffre. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
Thanks for hanging out with us on 90.1 KERA News this Thursday. I'm Justin Martin. The Trump administration is increasingly trying to criminalize the legal actions of protesters who are tracking and watching ICE officers.
The administration's animosity to people merely observing and documenting their immigration enforcement activity is very clear.
We'll have more on some examples of aggressive behavior by ICE agents in about 20 minutes.
You could win the European getaway of a lifetime. The Rick Steves European Trip Raffle offers a week-long journey of your choice: Rome, Paris, London, or Istanbul. Raffle tickets are $100 and only 2,000 will be sold. Enter at kera.org/trip-raffle.
Support for KERA News comes from The Senior Source, presenting the Spirit of Generations Luncheon, honoring Dallas icon Jan Langbein on March 5th. Proceeds will support older adults in our community. More at theseniorsource.org/spirit. The AT&T Performing Arts Center presenting Piff the Magic Dragon February 21st, Dogman the Musical February 27th and 28th, and Rent in concert at the Majestic Theater March 4th. Tickets at attpac.org.
Should be sunny and warm this afternoon with highs close to 78. This evening clears out and cools down sharply, dropping to about 44. The Trump administration says refugees applying for green cards may have to return to federal custody while their cases are reviewed. The policy could affect thousands who are already living legally in the United States. And in Fort Worth, the judge in the Prairieland ICE shooting case will now conduct jury selection himself after declaring a mistrial this week. Stay with KERA News as we learn more. You can also listen on the KERA app.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Amazon Business, offering business buying services from office supplies to IT essentials and maintenance tools to help bring visions to life. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com. From Capital One, offering their dining and entertainment card, Savor. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And from the Skoll Foundation, dedicated to powering social innovators to transform the world. Learn more at skoll.org.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Scott Detrow.
And I'm Juana Summers. Industry is one of the wildest shows on TV right now. Wicked storylines of deception, crime, sex, and drugs, all set in the world of London finance. And at its heart, two deeply flawed characters who can't seem to get enough of each other, just not in that way. I am talking about Harper and Eric. Harper, played by Myha'la, starts season 1 as a temp at the investment bank Purepoint, making her way to the trading floor with the help of a fabricated college transcript. And Eric, played by Ken Leung, her boss and soon her mentor. Things get complicated from there. Blurred professional and personal lines. The financial firm goes belly up. Eric retires. Harper calls him for advice.
But if you're hell-bent on that strategy, find a structural short you actually believe is violently overvalued and should re-rate. Own the story. Your name on the trade, because it's your name on the door, not some other schmuck.
What if it was our names on the door?
And with that question, what if it was our names on the door? Harper and Eric are back in action. Industry is now on its 4th season on HBO, and Myha'la and Ken Leung join me now. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So lovely to talk with you guys. So, in the first few seasons, the show makes clear that Harper is working and climbing in a man's world, but she is very clearly not intimidated. And as viewers, we don't get a ton of backstory for her. Myha'la, where do you think that bravery comes from?
I mean, she's a black woman in the world. so there's that. But I don't know. It can be bravery. I think it is a kind of courage, yes, but it's also like she's just relentless in her pursuit to succeed. And it's really about survival, which also has to do with being a black woman in the world. I feel like we are trained, whether we want to be or not, to survive in the world. And she understands the new world she's entering, this one run by powerful men and people who don't look like her and people who have things that she never had. So she definitely understands like that it's going to be an uphill climb, and if she's also not giving that up because she wants what she wants and she knows what she needs to do to get it. So yeah, I think the bravery comes from survival, but also this like deep need to succeed. It's by any means necessary, and having courage is just a part of that.
Ken, to you, what does Eric first see in Harper, or as he nicknames her, harpsichord?
I don't know that it was something so specific. I think he felt something that reminded him of the younger him. It's not obvious, but she shows an inner sort of